The little girl's lips trembled as snowflakes settled across her tangled golden hair. Cradling two tiny newborn babies against her chest, with the last warmth her small body could offer, she stared down the empty Wyoming road and whispered through tears, Nobody came back for me." The babies cried weakly beneath worn blankets already soaked with melting snow. Wagons rolled past without stopping. Riders lowered their eyes and continued into the storm. Then, through the white curtain of snow, one lonely cowboy pulled hard on his reins. That single moment would save 3 innocent lives and heal a heart that had been broken for years. Before this unforgettable journey begins, please like this video and subscribe to Meaningful Horizons. Your every story reminds us that even in the darkest winters, kindness can still change a life. The winter of 1884 had arrived earlier than anyone expected. Heavy snow buried the roads leading into the small frontier town of Dry Creek, leaving travelers stranded and supplies running dangerously low. Near the abandoned stage station, sat 8-year-old Lily wrapped in a torn burlap shawl that offered almost no protection from the freezing wind. Her tiny arms held 2 sleeping newborn twins she called Noah and Hope. Their faces were pale, and every breath they took seemed weaker than the last. Lily gently rocked them despite her own body shaking from hunger and exhaustion. She had not eaten a proper meal in nearly 3 days. Yet she refused to let go of the babies even for a moment. Every few minutes she looked down the snow-covered road with desperate hope. Her mother had kissed her forehead 4 days earlier and whispered, "Stay here with your brother and sister, I'll find work in town and come back before sunset." Lily had believed every word because mothers always kept their promises. She waited until sunset, then until sunrise, then another day, then another. Now the only thing left was silence and snow. Deep inside, she still wanted to believe her mother would appear around the next bend, smiling and calling her name. But with every passing hour, that hope became harder to hold. Most people who passed assumed someone else would help. A wealthy merchant tossed a piece of stale bread onto the ground without stopping his wagon. 2 ranch hands shook their heads, saying they already had mouths to feed. An elderly woman cried quietly as she rode past, but admitted she was too poor to care for 3 children herself. Lily thanked every person, even those who gave her almost nothing. Her mother had taught her that kindness should never disappear, no matter how cruel life became. Nearly 20 miles away, Jack Harper guided his horse through the storm after spending the day buying winter supplies. At 42, Jack had become one of the most respected ranchers in the territory, yet everyone knew he lived alone. 5 years earlier, sickness had stolen both his wife and infant daughter within the same terrible week. Since then, the once cheerful ranch house had become painfully silent. Jack buried himself in work, because work never reminded him of what he had lost. But every evening, one small empty rocking chair beside the fireplace quietly broke his heart all over again. As Ranger, his faithful horse, approached the deserted station, he noticed what looked like a bundle of old blankets buried beneath fresh snow. Ranger suddenly slowed on his own, refusing to move forward. Jack frowned and climbed down from the saddle. The closer he walked, the more clearly he heard it. Not the wind but the faint cry of a newborn baby. His heart pounded, he brushed snow aside and froze. There sat a little girl with tear-filled blue eyes holding 2 tiny infants against her chest. Her lips had turned blue from the cold, yet she kept wrapping the blankets tighter around the babies instead of herself. Jack knelt immediately. "My goodness," he whispered. "How long have you been out here?" Lily looked up slowly, fear filling her exhausted face. "My mama said she'd come back." Jack swallowed hard. "When?" 4 days ago." The word struck him like a bullet. He quickly removed his thick wool coat and carefully wrapped it around all 3 children before lighting a small fire beside the station. He poured warm coffee into a tin cup, cooled it, and handed Lily a few careful sips. Then he gently checked the babies. "They're still alive," he whispered thankfully. Lily looked at him with tears running down her frozen cheeks. "I tried to keep them warm. He promised Mama I wouldn't let anything happen to them." Jack had faced blizzards, cattle stampedes, and dangerous outlaws, but nothing had ever shaken him like the courage of this little girl. He looked down the empty road one last time. No wagon, no mother, only endless snow. Without another word he reached out his hand. "Lily, come home with me." For the first time in days, hope flickered inside the little girl's eyes. She slowly reached for his hand. Just then, the thunder of galloping hooves echoed through the storm. A rider burst from the swirling snow shouting at the top of his lungs, "Wait! Don't leave! I know what happened to their mother." The rider burst through the blizzard, his exhausted horse nearly collapsing beneath him. Snow covered every inch of his coat as he waved desperately at Jack Harper. "Please," he shouted. "Don't ride away. I know what happened to their mother." Jack instinctively stepped in front of Lily and the newborn twins, his hand resting near the revolver on his belt. The stranger raised both hands. "My name is Samuel Briggs," he said, breathing heavily. "I'm the doctor from Pine Ridge. You've been searching for these children for 2 days." Lily's eyes filled with hope. "You know my mama?" she asked. Samuel slowly removed his hat. The sadness on his face answered the question before he spoke. "Your mother Anna reached our town during the storm. She found work at a boarding house, but she collapsed from pneumonia before she could earn enough money to return. Before she passed away, she made me promise to find you." From inside his coat, Samuel carefully pulled out a small leather pouch. Inside was a folded letter and a tiny silver locket. She wanted Lily to have these. Jack unfolded the letter with trembling hands. The ink had blurred in places where tears had fallen onto the paper. "My precious Lily, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't keep my promise. I never abandoned you. Every step I took was to save you. Noah and Hope. You have always been the bravest little girl I've ever known. If someone kind finds you, don't be afraid to let them love you, and never forget, you'll always be my little sunshine." Lily couldn't hold back her tears. She clutched the letter against her heart and cried harder than she ever had before. "So she didn't leave us," she whispered. Jack gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "No, sweetheart, she spent her last moments thinking about you." Lily looked down at Noah and Hope sleeping peacefully beneath Jack's warm coat. "Mama kept her promise," she whispered. "She sent someone." Jack felt something inside him change forever. Without another word he lifted Noah into one arm, Hope into the other, then looked at Lily. "Come on," he said with a warm smile. "Let's go home." Those words were unlike any Lily had heard before. Home. The ride back to Jack's ranch was slow through the heavy snow, but for the first time in days, the children were warm. The fire inside the ranch house burned brightly as Jack wrapped the babies in soft blankets and warmed fresh goat's milk for them. Lily sat quietly beside the fireplace watching the flames dance across the room. She had almost forgotten what warmth felt like. Over the following weeks, the lonely ranch came alive again. Lily helped feed the chickens every morning before sunrise. She laughed whenever Jack tried teaching her to ride Ranger, usually ending with both of them laughing after she slipped into a snowbank. Noah and Hope grew stronger each day, filling the quiet house with tiny cries that somehow sounded like music instead of noise. Neighbors who once believed Jack would always live alone couldn't believe the change. The man who rarely smiled now laughed every evening at the dinner table. The house that once echoed with silence now echoed with children's voices. Months later, spring covered the Wyoming Valley with wildflowers. Jack took Lily, Noah and Hope into town. Inside the courthouse, the judge smiled as Jack signed the final papers. "Lily Harper." The little girl looked up. "Yes, would it make you happy?" Jack asked softly. "If I became your father, and Noah's, and Hope's?" Lily didn't answer. She ran across the room and threw her arms around him. "You've wanted that since the day you stopped your horse." Even the judge quietly wiped away a tear. Years passed. Lily grew into a strong young woman who helped run the ranch. Noah and Hope never remembered the terrible winter that nearly took their lives. Yet they never forgot the story. Near the old abandoned stagecoach station, Jack built a small wooden shelter for lost travelers. Above the door hung a simple sign carved by his own hands. "No one waits alone here." People from every nearby town came to know the story of the cowboy who stopped when everyone else rode away. They realized that heroes aren't always the fastest gunfighters or the richest ranchers. Sometimes, a hero is simply the person who stops for a crying child when no one else will. And on that freezing winter day, one lonely cowboy didn't just save 3 children, he found the family he'd been praying for all along. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Meaningful Horizons, and turn on notifications. Every week we bring you powerful Wild West stories of hope, courage, and second chances. Until next.